Okay, my friends, so here is what we are going to make today. First, let's go over your targets. Your targets are, I know that a tint is a color plus white. Tint. I know that pink is a tint of red. So pink is red plus white. I can paint in shapes, like the heart that you see right behind that target. We're going to paint that shape in today. I can outline with paint, so that means that you're painting around that object to make it bigger. You're going to outline it. Okay, my friends, so right now we are going to do what we always start with, is we are going to put our name, our grade, and our teacher's name on the back of our artwork using our neatest handwriting so that I can figure out who it belongs to when it's time to pass your artwork back to you. Because if you don't put your name on that paper, you know you might not get it back. Okay, so here I am. I have some paint on my little square of paper, and I have my brush. I neatly dip it into the paint. I shouldn't be getting paint like too far up the bristles of the paintbrush, so that's the hair on the paintbrush, and I really shouldn't be getting paint on the metal or the handle of the paintbrush. So I'm starting by painting around the outside of my heart, and then I'm going to just fill that space in. When my paintbrush starts to run out of paint, I dip it back in the paint and get some more paint on that paintbrush. It's a lot like with watercolor paint, where when your brush gets thirsty, you need to put it back in the water. Here, you need to just put it back in the paint. The paint is already nice and wet, so that's why you don't have water with this kind of paint. This kind of paint is called tempera paint. So you're just filling in that heart with a nice shade of just plain red. There we go, just putting some finishing touches on that. So now, if this is your artwork, you will raise your hand, and I'll come over with my bottle of white paint, and I will squirt some white paint right on top of your red paint. So that's what I'm going to do here for myself. And then I'm going to mix it with my brush. I'm doing this really slowly. I'm not mixing it like I would mix, a big old batch of pancakes. I'm mixing it really slow because I don't want that paint to go everywhere. I don't want my paint, my little paint spot on my paper to get too big, so it's taking up that whole piece of paper. And I definitely don't want to get a bunch of paint on myself or on the table I'm working on. So I didn't put quite enough white paint in that paint to begin with, so I had to go back and put a little bit more white paint in there, so that I could see a difference in color between my plain red heart and my tint or my pink that I just made. So now I'm outlining, so that means I'm just painting around the heart. I'm not filling in the whole paper. It's kind of like drawing a line around something, except for I'm doing it with paint, so it's a little bit thicker than a line. Yours can be thinner than mine or thicker than mine, but you don't really need it to take up the whole paper. There we go. I'm kind of trying to keep that heart shape as I'm painting, so it still looks like a heart. Now, if you still have room on your paper, so that means that your heart isn't quite touching the very top of the paper or the very bottom of the paper, you can raise your hand again and ask for a little bit more white paint, and then I'm going to mix that up good with my paintbrush, again going really slowly so I don't make a big old mess, because I don't want to make a big old mess with my artwork. I will mix that up with my paintbrush, and then I will kind of repeat my last step, which is to outline my heart a little bit to make it bigger. So there we go. We can see a nice difference in color. This tint of red, this pink, is quite a bit lighter. So we can see that as my heart goes out, it gets a little bit lighter in color or has more white in it. Every time that brush feels like it's running out of paint, I just dip it back in my blob of paint. So when you are done with this last step here, when you have painted your heart, again, it doesn't need to get into the corners of the paper. You want to try and keep that heart shape as much as you can, but if it kind of turns into a blob, that's okay. But when you are done with this step, your artwork will go on the floor in front of the whiteboard or the smart board. Be careful not to put your artwork on top of anyone else's. Great job, guys. Good luck.